Thank you so much for joining us today on Connect and Collaborate, where we come together each day to introduce you to our network of business and community leaders and to discuss the important issues that impact business in Colorado and the region. I'm Tammy Schaefer, your on-air producer, and Jeff Wasden, president of the Colorado Business Roundtable, is with me today. Hi, Jeff.
How are you? And it's an incredible show we've got lined up today. I am kind of giddy.
No
I don't
kidding.
get that way that often.
We've got some guests. You want to stick here until Jeff at least
today.
tells you who they are.
Yeah, we've got Todd Johnson, our great friend from Gallup, out from Nebraska here today, and he brought a special guest, Willy Theisen, the founder of Godfather's Pizzas here. We're going to be talking a little bit about entrepreneurship and building today, and some program and some works that we've been talking about. But there's going to be some incredible stories because, Willy, as I've heard it, the story is you were driving through Nebraska and Omaha, and the car broke down, and you never left.
That's true. That's true, and I'm here to back that up.
Good. So, Willy, let's start with you a little bit.
Okay.
Clearly, you have a passion not only for pizza, but for creating and starting businesses. And what we're dealing with in this topic of Born to Build and entrepreneurship and transformation through entrepreneurship is talking about those job creators, that certain select folk that have a skill set and a passion toward creating jobs. Were you always interested in the food and the pizza business, or how did that come about?
Well, it goes back to my upbringing. I was born in Chicago, raised in Clinton, Iowa. Went to school in Northern Iowa, University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls. But as growing up, we always had, my mom worked, my dad worked, and they taught us to work. And I had an older brother and younger sister. And I did a lot of non-traditional things for working because of my age, 13, 14, 15 years old. Carry groceries home, mow lawns, paint numbers of houses on people's curbs for 50 cents, 25 cents, caddy, worked at the pool hall racking balls, and then I ended up, at 15, I was flipping burgers, and I think that was my first introduction to the food business. I was taught by a Navy cook, Bill the Greek. We were always afraid. We never did ask him what his last name was, but
that was probably enough.
Yeah, that was enough. He was the boss.
With the Greek. It'll keep you safe.
With the Greek, and so I was the fry guy. And he said, now I say set, I mean set. And when I can trust you, I'll let you get on the grill with me. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. And so I did what I was told. I was never late. My area was always clean when I left. I hung my apron up, and away we went. And so taught me principles, how to get in on time, be ready from the first order. And then when I got to the grill, he said, now I'm going to teach you a thing called timing. I said, okay. He said, on the left-hand side, you put the longest thing on. Then you move it up to the top left, a little bit less. Then to the right, see where it's really dark? That's the sweet spot. And that's a good word, by the way, sweet spot. When we find our sweet spot in life, and then they all come out at the same time. And so he kind of got me in the food business. My mom taught me how to cook. My grandmother taught me how to bake. And then away we go.
That is amazing. So what was where were you headed?
Well, I was
when you broke down.
Where was that economic engine going?
Yeah, Clinton, Iowa. If you started there, you didn't get too far when you broke down in Omaha.
I didn't get too far.
What car were you driving that broke down?
61 Ford Falcon, 2-door, 3 on the tree, blue bench seat in the front. It was a heap, and that was my college car. And when I decided to leave college, I was heading to California with a couple $100 in my pocket and a lot of wide-eyed ideas. That's the place you're going to do it. Whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do it in California.
Right.
Yep.
Well, my transmission didn't go along with me on that. We're going over a Mormon bridge, kind of a crest, goes from Iowa into Nebraska, north of Omaha, and it broke right on top of the river, right on top of the bridge. So I pushed the clutch in and got over the side of the road and flipped up the hood, and now I was there. I had to solve a small problem. I didn't have the money to go forward. My car was broken. I had no place to stay, and I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And it was about 3 in the afternoon, and I was getting hungry. So got a hold of my buddy back at college. His folks lived in Omaha by Elmwood Park.
Yeah.
Asked him if I could stay with him for a bit till I got on my feet. I was a little down on my luck. Half hour later, they picked me up. They got the car towed, got to the house. They said, we got one room. It's above the garage. How do you think that's going to work? I I said, just what I've been looking for.
Amazing.
Exactly. This is what I've been looking for. And we eat at 5:30, and we expect you there. And then we'll kind of figure out what our game plan will be. And then that was it. I was there about 6 weeks. I washed the cars. I mowed the lawn. We painted the house. And
You earned your keep.
yeah, I earned my keep, and I got 2 part-time jobs. Found another guy to move in with.
I've got a room above the garage.
Well, you know,
No poaching of our builders.
if this doesn't go well today, I might take a look at it. You know.
Fair enough.
No,
But-
you're not.
But yeah, I've always had jobs, not traditional and non-traditional.
So let's jump into Godfather's Pizza.
Let's jump in.
And how did that idea? Obviously, you had a little bit of a background and some education in the food service business. What we learned, and part of this discussion with Gallup and our partnership there, and talking about entrepreneurship and builders, there's a certain type of a skill set and traits associated with entrepreneurship: grit, determination, marketability, risk aversion. You go down those lines. What got you into jumping into creating your own business versus working for somebody else?
Well, as an entrepreneur, and I was one before we even had the word entrepreneur, by the way, I'm that old, I did things other people wouldn't do or couldn't do. I was first in line for those. And there was a job opening adjacent to where I opened my first store, brand new apartment complex. Nobody wanted to work on Sunday. I'll work on Sunday.
Raise your hand, you're in.
That's the gravy. Okay, you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked and I rented a ton of apartments, and then the Saturday job came available. I'll take it. Put my hand up. Well, I outworked everybody, and lo and behold, a few months later, I was the general manager of the whole place. Adjacent, we built this building, 2 buildings. I was in charge of leasing that too, and there was a ice cream store and a 7-Eleven and a beauty salon. So I saw this spot in the corner. I kept looking at it. I said, "There's something there. I'm going to do something." That's me.
He saw something no one else could see.
Entrepreneurs. That's right, Todd.
Great point.
It is a point, and it's true. We see things other people don't see. We're not smarter or got better eyesight, but we look at everything. I looked at everything on the way out here. I got my space where I wanted to be when we came in, and anyway, got the spot. Went to the bank. I had it written down. When they say a napkin idea, it was a cocktail napkin. Took it in. The banker looked at it. Joe Sullivan. He looked at it. He says, "Where's the rest of it?" I go, "That's it." He goes, "I like it."
Oh, wow.
I like it. It's simple. And so he whipped out the papers for the Small Business Administration, and my eyes got really wide. He knew I was going to have a problem filling those out because they're quite thick. He said, "I got a guy that'll help you," and I thought it would be him. He said, "No, I got a guy." He said, "He works at night. Will you work at night?" I go, "Yeah." And I could have said, "I like day work. I like to hang out at night. I like to." And I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And he said, "Will you start tonight?" He was testing me. There was a test going on. And I said, "I'll start tonight." So filled him out, got him back to him, built the store. That was one of several hundred that were built
And was
nationwide.
that the first Godfather's
That was
location?
the first one.
Wow.
It was Godfather's and a place called Wild Willy's. We combined them.
So we celebrated Willy in the Nebraska Hall of Fame a couple months ago, and we did a little math. How many jobs came out of Godfather? First jobs over the years, franchise, fully owned?
Well, I called them before the award to
Right.
get those numbers because I do a little bit of consulting with them. And they said, they got back to me. They said, "You sitting down?" I said, I'm a man. I can take it. "Are you sitting down?" And I go, "Yeah, I can take it." And so they said, well, company and franchised over 440,000 jobs.
Wow.
And-
Boom. Everybody's writing down the number. Because, and Omaha got a lot of that economic energy because his car broke down. I'm going to hammer that point throughout the day here.
Yeah.
If he had made it to Denver, we'd be on the other side of the table, right?
Right?
Yeah, and that's the way those things happen. And the best part of that number, and Todd, you'll remember this, is 80% of those jobs. I've worked with young people all my life. 80% of those jobs were first-time job seekers. First jobs. That's so important. It was to me. It's to everybody. And 80% are the people that had never worked. They're wide-eyed. They don't know yes from no. Come on in. Okay, we'll teach you how to say thank you, please. Button your shirt, comb your hair, brush your teeth. Come in on time. If you got a friend that wants to work with you, bring them in too.
You've shared a couple nuggets already, and I think seeing things and being open and raising your hand, volunteering, pitching up, understanding the business. But for those young entrepreneurs out there today, Willie, what is a lesson, something that you've learned over your course of time that you'd really like to share with our listeners, that you've kind of understood over time, tried, tested, maybe through failure?
Well, we all don't, learn the first time. I fell back a couple times, but I think that you've got to be one of a couple, three things. I'm a rainmaker, and that's what I've really learned to be. That's my skill set is a rainmaker, and then have to be experts that do things that you don't do.
The guy who filled out those SBA forms.
Yeah, and he knew I couldn't do that. The banker looked at me when I was fidgeting, and I needed an expert, and we did it in 3 nights. It cost me $40. I said, I don't have 40 today. I have 20, but can I have the documents? And he said yes. I said, I'll be back next week with another 20. He trusted me. Let's use that word. Ethically trusted me that I'd come back with a 20. And I came back. I don't remember where I got it, but I got it. I know I got it. He was never chasing me. And then, people that manage the things that you don't every day manage the business, you need those people that come in behind you that keep everything together. The focus of what the plan is. Follow the plan, invent the plan, and then manage by the plan.
So at Gallup, we call those the conductors, the alpha rainmaker. Obviously, we're sitting next to one here. They see things, the vision, the energy. The expert, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but all too often
we're shifting right to you because this is where we're moving. Yeah.
Hollywood and the media, maybe we confuse the expert as the entrepreneur, as the builder. Some of this is semantics, but the inventor isn't always the person that can make rain,
right,
or that can scale. And I think we, as a leadership of cities and countries, have often thrown all the money at the experts and said, well, there's nothing commercializing.
Yeah.
Well, they need the rainmaker. We ultimately need all 3 of those to go.
Yeah,
that's what the research says.
It's a great point. Todd, I do want to shift to you. And first and foremost, thank you again. We've had an incredible relationship with Gallup. We were so honored to have Jim Clifton out keynoting our Collaboration Industry Awards. People are still talking about that incredible luncheon that we had, and just listening to his mindset. And I was literally at the governor's mansion a couple days ago, and the governor was still talking about Jim Clifton and Gallup and having him out and the relationship. Your company, your CEO are so well respected and revered in the business community.
I've never seen a B day. So. He's got no B game. Only got A game.
That's amazing.
I've seen him for 23 years, and I've never seen a B game.
So the timing of this conversation today couldn't be better. And I know, Todd, when we first met back at your corporate headquarters in Omaha, we were chatting about the Russian Chinese, identifying talent and skill sets, and with the Olympics going on, it's a perfect time, right? Because people understand in music, in athletics, and certain things, it's very easy to spot and identify those people are going to be successful. Willie, you're a little smarter than I am, but if I'm a basketball coach and I see a guy that's 6'10" walking down the hallway at the high school, I can probably start to figure out we may have something there. If you're the football coach and you got a 6'4", 320-pound guy walking down the hall, you probably start to figure out. But you guys have tried to figure out, what does that look like in business, and why are we missing that ingredient of identifying those kind of aptitudes that you were talking about, the rainmakers, the experts, the conductors? So jump in, Todd, because it's fascinating. We're so honored to have you here.
No, thank you very much, and we've absolutely appreciated this partnership and friendip.
It's been great.
Jeff laughs at my jokes. Willie doesn't, but Jeff does, so that puts you in a very special place. Your points in your opener are just right on target. For the last 200 years, we've gotten really good at finding the intellects and the athletes and giving them a coach or development. Right. We know what to do with them. Down to 2nd, 3rd grade, we know what to do. And we've always kind of been Monday morning quarterbacking, to use the sports, on the builders. We can look at Willy and say, God, that guy's created a couple 100,000 jobs on Monday morning. Gallup, being researchers and having studied human development and talents, recurring patterns of thought and behavior for 50 some odd years, if you take it back to the poll, almost 100 years, pretty good at measurement, pretty good at asking questions
Right.
and psychometric profiling. We aimed all that energy at finding builders. And we built an assessment that helps us spot them on, let's just say, Wednesday or Thursday as opposed to Monday morning after the game. Everybody can say, you know, oh, look at Brad Feld. And he's a great builder, by the way, good friend. Everybody can say, you know, Bezos, or just name them down on Monday morning. So we're working on some really cool projects in a couple different countries where we give the assessment to some high school kids. And some go beep, beep, beep.
Really?
You know, something's going on in there. They're answering questions like he did. Like, I'm pointing at Willy Theisen. I just realized we're on the radio.
Don't point at me.
Yeah, the hand gesture. The hand talking is not working today, is it, Jeff?
We'll make it work.
Okay. So we're really excited about it. We've had some really exciting pilot work in Omaha and Lincoln and across Mexico. And when you find them, that's not enough. You've got to get them a coach.
Right.
You've got to get them a conversation, a tap on the shoulder. They're not always the A students. Some of them are
Right.
in trouble.
Imagine.
One place to find them, if you don't have the assessment, is go talk to the counselors, the
It's that kid, huh?
disciplinarians. Often can find. Were you ever in trouble, Theisen?
Yeah, I was. I was a couple times.
There it is,
Yeah.
validation.
Yep, yeah, I was.
You know, we've been finding salespeople and managers and leaders through our research and sciences for decades. We just couldn't be more excited about trying to find some builders.
Yeah.
Some builders.
Well, you put out an incredible video, and I was mentioning before we got on air today, our typical question is the business community. What are you up to? What are you doing? Where do you work? What's important to you? What's your day look like? Tell me about your job. But we don't frame it, what are you working on? What are you building? What are you creating? And I think that's just changing our mindset that we're so ingrained in, and especially in workforce development, right? The open jobs, and you're trying to figure out how to retrain, reskill people. You've got youth entering the workforce.
Yes.
You've got a lot of great veterans and moms re-entering the workforce after having kids that are ready to get back as kids enter school, and they're excited, and you start figuring out how to train them and get them set to go in and do these jobs. But we've never talked about, how do you find that next Willy? How do you find that next Jeff Bezos, the Brad Felds, the people that can go out and create the 400,000 jobs? And you talked about, Todd, it can transform communities.
Yeah, and your point's really well taken, and I want to expand on it. We're all building something on life's journey. Of course we want to find those mega business builders, but I love the subtitle of the new book that's coming out, How to Build a Thriving Startup. Absolutely, startups, we know how important that is. A winning team within an existing company. This one I fought for the most, actually. New customers. What business today, big, small, young, old, isn't looking for new customers? They are talents to build new customers. And the big close is, of course, and your best life imaginable. We're all trying to build that.
Yes.
So we are excited about the word builders, because, you know, Hollywood turned entrepreneur into such a, you know, hoodie, tight jeans, high tech. You need a big database to sell for $1 billion. You don't really need revenue. I mean, Hollywood kind of painted it in, and nobody can spell it. So we're shifting and broadening the net, if you will, because we're all building something on life's journey. We want to find the big business builders, but those that are building a church, those that are building a new division within an existing company, that's the aim of the movement. Instead of walking around a college campus saying, what's your major, it's going to be, what do you build?
Interesting.
Well, you know, way back
So
when
great.
these tests didn't happen, and entrepreneurs, I was described as, just leave him alone, he'll be okay. You know what? I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm way okay. But there wasn't any identification. I was putting things together. I was taking them apart. I was organizing this and that and getting things the right way and sticking to a plan. Finishing. You got to finish things. I'd like to see a room of finishers, not people that just start
You hear
and
any
walk
determination
away.
in his voice?
Yeah, we got to finish things on time. You know?
Well, and those are some of what this assessment, BP10, the Builder Profile 10, is really assessing, right? Determination, grit, risk aversion, marketability, some of those things I mentioned earlier, because those are the types of things that, Willie, you have inside you that we're trying to figure out where they are and how do we identify those. We've laughed at, I know one of the first stories we talked about, FBLA and DECA, right? That some dad that's in business tells their kids, you're going to this club, and they generally grab their friend because they don't want to go alone. And, you know, that self-identification doesn't necessarily create those builders that are there because they were dragged there by a buddy or their parents told them. You're looking at assessing kids for some skill sets, Todd, that are trying to find out what's inside that you
How
can
they're
bring
wired,
out.
their
And
DNA.
yeah,
You
talk
know,
about that.
Well, and our first name was actually Functional Demands of Entrepreneurship, FDE. I've had like 9 names, and my website people hate me, my printing, my marketing, everybody hates me because I'm changing names.
We need to change that again.
We're locking down builders, by the way. And then we're translating things all over the world. I mean, I'm not real popular in the translation department either. But and interestingly, functional demands of entrepreneurship. Someone has to be selling, and that's one of the talents we measure. This guy's a pretty good sales guy. You need the rainmaker is oftentimes somebody has to be selling, thinking about profit, thinking about relationships, both inside and outside the business. These are those 10 demands. Some do them naturally and can't help it, and some need system. We don't say you need all 10. You have to account for all 10. The reason we got off calling it a demand is when you go into a school and you use the word demand, you turn the kids off. Yeah. And then we called it behavioral demands of entrepreneurship. Another bad idea. I've had a lot of bad ideas on this journey. Because BDE is behaviorally dysfunctional. I mean, it's an acronym in school.
Okay.
So then we went to Entrepreneurial Strengths Finder. I thought that was a great idea. Bad idea. People were confused with Clifton Strengths Finder, which has 20 million plus people through around the world.
Oh my goodness,
I
so
overdrafted.
popular.
I overdrafted on our cousin Clifton Strengths. And again, this movement on building, on life's journey. So we're gonna walk down on BP 10. And we're going to see if we can't change the national conversation. It sounds breathless, but we're going to do it.
We're in with you, and we're excited to have you in Denver, Colorado. We're going to meet with some great people while you're here.
Super
that are
excited.
Can't wait about things that we can do to incorporate and bring this program to all areas of Colorado, including some of our rural areas that may not be cooking as well on the economic development and wage scale and job creation as Metro Denver is. Metro Denver is doing incredibly well. Stephanie Copeland, our director of Economic Development International Trade Department, is really passionate now about trying to expand these types of programs and job opportunities and builders out in rural Colorado, and I think there's some excitement there. One of the things that you chatted about in our last couple minutes is these kids that you identify may not be the norm, right? It may not be that A-plus student. They come from all walks of life, all demographics, all socioeconomic backgrounds.
Absolutely.
Tell us about why you think these skill sets don't care about where you live, your zip code.
You know, and again, we're researchers, and I've got a team of obviously very much a lot smarter researchers than I am. But
pretty smart.
These talents don't discriminate or come from one zip code. We've got kids across the Mexico City public school system who have got customers and companies, and now Jim Clifton's an angel investor. They didn't grow up at the country club. Skills and knowledge can be transferred on life's journey. Your talent, quite honestly, depending on your belief system, the good Lord, Mother Nature, your parents, or a combination, is established by about the age of 3 or 4. So finding them, celebrating them, having a conversation over in Nebraska, we say tagging them like catting them, put a little tag on their ear, because they're going to be your economic juice and energy going forward.
I just want to say a word for C students. You're looking at one right here.
Okay.
I think he's rounding up.
That's an average. I will tell you, you give me a room full of C students, and we're going to go someplace. We're going to make some things happen, and that's where it happens.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Giving the skills and knowledge is important. We never say it's not, but start with the clay that's going to build something, and magic happens.
I can see that. The C students have strengths
Yes.
kind of across each one, but they
broad-based.
can't excel at
Exactly
might
right.
not be
That academically,
memorization on a
exactly.
Saturday morning, but
Exactly.
we're going to disrupt that industry as well.
Well, stick with us. We're going to talk more with Todd Johnson, channel leader, job creation for Gallup, and we have Willy Theisen, founder of Godfathers and a couple other restaurant chains.
Yes.
So stick with us. We'll be back with more. Thanks so much for staying with us today. We're very excited to bring you this great conversation. Jeff Wasden, president of the Colorado Business Roundtable, is here. Having a good time, Jeff?
Oh, I'm having a great time. It's so great to talk to a great friend, and it's somebody I admire, Todd with Gallup, and it's just a great friendship, a great relationship, and we're so honored to have you in town, and couldn't be any more pleased with the company you keep. You went up a little bit in my eyes there when you brought Willy to
weight
us
class,
today.
did I go up a
Oh
weight
my
class?
goodness, what a gem, what a jewel here of having Willy Theisen,
Yeah.
the founder of Godfather's Pizza, with us today, talking about building. You know, I looked, Todd, at the BP10 and some of the 10 skills that you're identifying in there, and one of the things that we've talked about is you really focus on 4 or 5 of your top ones, but you have to account for others. So I'm just going to use me. I'm kind of like being a guinea pig. I can poke fun at myself.
That works.
You know,
We all can.
I'm okay at 2 of the 10 I figured out.
Okay.
I think I kind of have relationships and confidence down.
Yeah.
I think
Sure.
those are
You
pretty
sure
good.
do. Yep.
But there's a few things on here, being a disruptor, risk taker, that risk aversion. How do you account? What are some of the key learnings, key findings you've learned when you've started to talk to people and given this assessment? Where do people generally line, and what are you looking for out of these 10?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we've been, in the massive experiment for 10 years, but with the assessment for 4, we've learned a lot. Everybody's relationship is very different. Let's talk about risk. Willy Thiesen's never taken risk in his life because he mitigated and he saw the future, and he had none of these are silos. He had a confidence and determination, and he knew that he could have the relationships to get through. So a misnomer, a misconstrued out in the ecosystem today is that entrepreneurs are risk takers. No, they're not. When you really interview the best ones, the risk was not doing it. Isn't that fun? So when you talk to a Jim Clifton about acquiring Gallup, everybody looked around and said, that's risky. No, the risk was not doing it. And that kind of a fun way to think about it.
It's just reframing. Yeah, I love that.
Again, talents are hardwired. The skills and knowledge, critical, but that can be transferred and it can be partnered. Another huge learning through these different projects and experiments is the power of team building. I'm telling you right now, these founders, God bless them, they're teaming up with people that look like them, think like them, act like them, talk like them. Why? Because it's comfortable. It's called human nature, but not always best for the business. So you get 2 or 3, technical geniuses have this wonderful invention that can change the world, but they can't sell to save their lives. And I've met them. I know. I'm going to pick on some.
2 different skill sets.
They're just different, and they need to honor and respect someone else's profile, top and bottom, because people are spiky, but teams need to be well-rounded. Okay, a little cliche, but if you don't have somebody on the team, Willy, validate me here, who's thinking about selling, who's thinking about profitability, who's thinking about disrupting, what's next? Eastman Kodak could have used a few. So it's not just a startup community. It's there's a great Amazon Cloud commercial. I don't know. It was on the Super Bowl. Next time you see it, you might think about this conversation. We're all builders, building disruptive. There's some music, there's some energy. We're a nation of builders, so we're going to unlock it.
Love. Willy, when you look at these 10 assessments, where do you see yourself, and what are your strengths, and how did you do exactly what Todd said? How did you fill in and make sure that you were accounting for those areas where you weren't as strong in?
Well, it comes natural sometimes to some people, but I took the profile testing a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago.
I charged him for it, too.
Well, he did charge me for it, and I paid for it. I paid. And I didn't want to take it because I didn't want to flunk. But
That profitability piece right there. I like it. Well done, Todd.
Can't be a
He's probably got a little resources, too, right?
This isn't a test you flunk. I decided one day, and they said, if you don't take it, we won't like you. And I don't know. They didn't say that. But so I took it, and I was at my office, and I was on my iPad, and I was backing up to hit submit, and bang. It came back immediately, and it wasn't close to being me. It wasn't sort of like me. It was it was scary. It was like looking in a mirror, right close to a mirror, not back from a mirror, right up next to the mirror. That's me. And these things that I did somewhat naturally, like relationship building. That's my number one skill. You can build a team. You can make things. You can make it rain, and you don't hire next to you the people who are just like the two rainmakers. It ain't
Kill
gonna,
each other.
It ain't going to work.
They need
That's
a
too much.
conductor and an expert in there.
They'll
They're
drown.
gonna-
They'll make so much rain, they'll drown.
They'll
You
sell
can-
what they can't deliver.
and they won't have a pump. They won't be able to pump.
Right.
You know, and so who has the pump? Well, we just make rain. We don't pump it. We can't drink this much. So I took the test, and after many, many years, after quite a bit of success, but these things that we go down to, my lowest is delegator, okay? I don't want to wait for somebody to get something done. Oh yeah, this guy. I'm waiting for him to call me back. No, you're not waiting.
It's down to driving. We have to fight about who drives because he
know.
wants to drive.
Control.
He wants to
I
be
want
in
it's
control.
the control.
He won't delegate the driving to me, and I'm a better driver than he is.
Well, how many tickets, Todd?
No, don't go there.
Okay, there we go.
Hey, that doesn't mean you're not a good driver. It means you're a fast driver.
I like
He is
to be
fast.
places.
But these things are the things, and they are the strengths, and they're natural strengths. These are some DNA things, but you have to follow through on them. You have to. We talked about finishing in an earlier segment. These things define who you are, and take those top 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. Those are the ones. And when I used to come home from school, and I got an F once in a while, I had a couple B's and mostly C's. And where did my mom and dad go right away? Where did they focus on? What's going on with this F?
Yeah, 93% of that we've got Gallup poll data on that. 93%
Yeah.
of the parents zero in on the F.
What are we going to do, Willie? What are we going to do about the F? Apparently, I'm not going to do anything about it, or it wouldn't be an F. You know, but everything. What about up here? Look at wood shop. I got a B in wood shop. What? You know? Well, we don't care. You're not going to be a carpenter. You know that. So they just kind of left me alone, and I was going to be okay. But always have a job. Always be in a sport. Don't skip school. You know, all those good things. But these were the natural things that my DNA was. I was wired that way to do. That's just what happened. But I didn't even. What if I would have been 14 or 15 years old in school, and I would have got an opportunity to take this test?
Well, you'd still be
What
in
if?
Clinton, Iowa, because they wouldn't have let you go.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a guy who was getting C's outside of Lincoln. He went to Nebraska. I'm telling a story. Make it real. He was quirky. He spoke in short sentences, and he didn't play football, so we didn't really care. And his name was Ev Williams, and he went on to found Twitter. And he did come back to Nebraska to give a commencement speech at the university where he just kind of went through with everybody else. And I never miss a chance, not our current governor, our previous governor, I never miss a chance to say, that movie's come and gone. Well, I'm on the river a lot, so it's floated down. Who's up around the bend? Who is the next
who's coming this
Clarence
way?
Werner or Brad Feld
Right.
in high school? We don't know. It's tragic that we don't know. Sorry, I'm on my pedestal.
No, I love that. Well, and I want to change slightly the conversation. We're talking about, assessing a lot of our youth in high school and giving the assessment. But what kind of advice and what have you learned for the employer, the boss that's in there that's got 50, 100 employees? What should they be looking for and trying to find that kind of talent that may help them and their company, or that they may be able to encourage to move off into their own?
We think there's a huge runway in what I'll call enterprise. That didn't work when we were named Entrepreneurial Strengths Finder, by the way, because we don't want entrepreneurs, we want workers. But changing the mindset and managers, we know that your well-being and your engagement's higher when you know what your talents are. That's just Gallup Research 101, and we've, if you ever need to look at a lot of research, go to our website. We got a lot of research there, right?
You have a few.
So knowing your talents, knowing you're building talents. If I'm a manager, well, I'm building and helping build a new division within a 100-year-old polling company. See, the mindset, it should be everywhere. And we need to align ourselves, as we talked about earlier, with people that don't necessarily make us comfortable. That's when the magic happens. Conflict, as long as it's professional, can be a really good thing when it comes to talent and teams, new products, seeing new customers where others can't. I was a bit of a builder. I ran around Latin America trying to create economic energy where none existed. That's our definition. But I was an entrepreneur. So we think the naming is going to be much more conducive. We're coming out with a new book. Can I talk a little bit about the book?
I would love to chat about that book, because anything that you guys have your name attached with is certainly going to be a bestseller right away. And the title is so captivating, not just the Born to Build, but all the subtitles about thriving startups, winning teams, and I love that. But again, you talked about new customers. You got to be able to sell. You got to market. You got to be able to push this out.
Somebody
turn it into a business. Otherwise, it's just a great idea or a hobby on a napkin.
I like to say it's hard to be a broke do-gooder. We really believe in free enterprise, by the way. we think paying customers are great. Somehow we buy these big databases for billions of dollars with no revenue. I can't see the business model there, but that's the unicorn chase, and the kids are all trying to build these apps and big database craziness. Get a customer some revenue. I've always, again, a little cliche, but I've always felt the first investor in a startup should be a customer that pays. So the book, really excited about it. It's pre-release now. It's up on Amazon now. It'll launch May 1st. It's the most hands-on, functional, practical book ever out of Gallup Press. Okay.
Wow, that's saying a lot, Todd.
It really is. Well, and I'm being recorded, so I don't edit that out, Tammy. Leave that part in. The four legs to the book's table, if you will. Knowing thyself, right? Mm-hmm. There's an assessment, a code. We've done that with other books. Take the assessment. We tell you what it means and how to understand it and how to know thyself. That's just a step, regardless of what you're going to build. In a company, out of company, nonprofit, know thyself. The second tenet is how to vet an idea, how to, and we've got exercise and activities, literally writable PDFs that we'll have in the website on idea generation, creation, and feasibility. Number 3, all important. I just gave my speech about it. Customer. How do you find a customer, and then how do you find another one? That's the core third leg to the table. Number 4, if viable, how do you scale this thing? And that gets into the team building. So Dr. Sangeeta Bottle, who's our chief worldwide researcher, is co-authored with Jim Clifton. One way to think about this book, and I'm pretty sure you've read Coming Jobs War, this is the what to do. This is the sequel. I actually fought to have the coloring similar, but it was, remember black and gold and kind of scary.
Yeah.
We've kind of aimed this. We want the students engaging in this and, everybody engaging, but that was a little ominous, the black and gold, so I lost that battle. But
ominous or powerful, right?
Powerful.
Depending how you look at it. I look at it as a powerful, strong statement. We actually gave those books out to several of our sponsors and
people are still reading
attendees of our collaboration.
Still reading it, and
so many gems.
It's got and again, the only 2 books, and we've published, 50 as a company, but the only 2 with our chairman's name are Coming Jobs War and this. He's all in on getting this nation and our business community thriving. I won't go into the economic speech. I know you just had Jim out here, but it's not as perfect as some would like to say. We've got some economic issues. Our per capita GDP is not growing. That's kind of the key metric.
Wages stagnant.
Yeah.
Labor force participation. You can go through a lot of those.
There's a whole laundry list.
Metrics,
now, this is aimed at that, and obviously there is no single silver bullet, but lighting up the building conversation in existing companies, small, large, across industry sectors, across rural, it's really universal. We're excited about the book. That was a long-winded.
No, that's a great. I will tell you, knowing Jim, knowing Gallup, hearing that from you, Todd, you need to get this book. You need to make sure that you put this on your priority list and read list for 2018. Born to Build. Again, available on Amazon now. On the pre-release coming out in May, and we're so excited. Well, I want to shift to you quickly.
Okay.
What gets you excited?
Coming here today did. When we got the opportunity, and Todd and I talked about it, we've got to get to students, and we've got to give them, have these available, these tools for their assessment. It gets me excited to see, and I talk to a lot of schools all over our area, our state, and just to see they're eager for knowledge. They relate to me. Everybody relates to pizza. I mean, and food. Food brings us together. You know, like at my mom and dad's house, we got together every night at 5 or 5:30. We ate and we talked. We shared ideas. We shared thoughts. But gets me excited is to see accomplishment, to finish things, and to see people reap the benefits from these, and just build confidence and trust within each other. As a team, I'm a big team player. I beat the drum as hard as I can beat it a lot of times to get people's attention. I have quite a few things that I'm interested in that I help with. This is probably one of the most important because I can see I'm part of this. I'm part of these builders.
Right.
I'm one of those. And to identify some more, a lot more, and we get them in the schools. That's where they're in school. This is just the extension of what they're already doing, but it puts a new light on kind of who they are and how they feel about things. And first jobs, too, are very, very important.
And I'm going to do a little Defy Ventures plug here because that's also a place Willie
Yep.
and I spend a lot of time. He just took 65 pizzas to the incarcerated men in Tecumseh, which is maximum security.
Maximum security, state of Nebraska.
And we teach them their builder talents. And I'll tell you what, there's a tremendous amount of builder talent in our incarcerated men and women. They applied it to the wrong industry, and they're paying their price for it. But we're kind of helping them understand. So if it's a first job, because in many cases it is a first job upon release, we're helping them understand their talent so they're
ready.
recidivate.
They're ready when they get out.
Recidivism right down into the ground.
Project Defy is now here in
I
Colorado.
know, and I'm super excited about it.
I'm going to pause just a second.
Sorry, Alex. Project Defy is now here in Colorado. I had an opportunity to go down with the governor and our Department of Corrections. Head to Arkansas Valley Correctional
Yes, I heard
Facility and
about
spend
that.
a day there with some other volunteers. And to your point, right, this is something that builders can come from any walk of life, of any circumstances. And I sat there with 6 hours with some people that were down on their luck, that had made some bad choices in life.
Yep.
But you sit there with somebody that wanted to create an industry in a bakery to serve low-privileged people that couldn't afford cakes. You had somebody in HVAC. You had somebody that wanted to go into car repair and welding. They wanted to go create because they wanted to do it themselves and see if they could go hire others to come work for them that couldn't find jobs, that were turned down, that were told that they weren't qualified, didn't have the right skill set. And that rejection obviously breeds a lot in that recidivism rate in prison. So finding a builder in prison is just important as finding one at the prep school. Or
Absolutely, and we're doing it. And Willie and I do it together. We go down, and the lifers in the Nebraska State Penitentiary are strengths coaches.
Yes.
We've taught them how to strengths coach. They're not getting out, but they're helping guys that are going to get out get a job.
In their first annual banquet, I was the keynote.
Yeah.
I was the keynote
And we
speaker.
ate Godfather's pizza.
And I got it in. I got it in. You know, and you know, it wasn't.
It's not as easy to get in.
It's
as
not
you
as
think.
easy to get in. I mean, we're not here to have pizza parties all the time. And I said, this brings us together. They'll trust us. We want them to trust us. And we just had a graduation of first cohort at Tecumseh, maximum security prison in Nebraska. And many people spoke at it. They had the caps and gowns. And on tape that we had on the television, gentleman says, I didn't complete high school. I didn't have two parents. I've never finished anything.
Except this.
This.
It was very powerful.
Oh, wow.
And he had been there for over 20 years. And he says, this is the happiest day of my life. And this was all being filmed. But it wasn't like an hour thing. We were there 6, 7, 8 hours.
No, it's deep.
It's a deep, and you're soul searching, and you go through these exercises with those incarcerated individuals, and you soul search yourself because you gotta lay it all out on the line, literally on the line.
And to a strengths conversation, they weren't raised in environments where their people celebrated their strengths and their talents and what they're great at. We know life's better. So we're doing it now. It's never too late.
Never too late.
But it's really exciting to see the energy and enthusiasm. And quite honestly, our recidivism for graduates in Nebraska is 0. We've got them all of them
employed.
Have jobs.
Everyone's
now,
employed.
There's 15, so the number's still small. But those are 15 starfish that are
going
back
back
in the ocean with
Yep.
a job.
Aw.
Willie, you have got such a spirit and aura about you. You're driven. You're successful. what keeps you going, and how do you define success, right? What does success look like to a guy that's created several restaurants, created 440,000 jobs? What are you most proud of?
Well, my granddaughter probably, number one,
That's
who
true.
lives in Indian Wells, and I just showed Todd this morning on the plane. She signed up, my daughter's daughter, and my son-in-law lived there, plus other extended family. She signed up yesterday, well, just got approved, she signed her acceptance on a program, a 6-year volunteer program. She's 11 years old.
She'll drive to her last year.
Yeah, and a part of it's a 3-tier, 6-year commitment. And she wrote her little acceptance speech on a card. And they delivered her invitation and a rose to her on Sunday, and she wrote the acceptance card on Monday, handwritten, and she signed up for 6 years.
Think he's proud of her? Look at his face.
I'm really
I know we're on
proud.
radio,
Yeah.
but if you could see his face.
Exactly.
Mia is, she's had great opportunities. She's taken advantage of every
Right.
nook and cranny. But that's what I'm proud of, is giving back, paying a little bit forward, even when you're 11 years old.
Yeah.
Here she's taken lead, and I'm fortunate she comes back with my daughter, and she stays in Omaha all 11 weeks this summer. And we do things every day. We do things every day. I have a staycation. And if I go out of town, they go with me.
It's the only time I can't get him into a school or a jail.
Yeah, I get it.
Is when his granddaughter
I'll
is around,
make-
and I honor that.
My daughter Amber, Mia's mother, went to Omaha Correctional last year before she left. I got her in one night with us. And we left, and I won't tell you everything we said, but it's changed her. She came out, and we just leaned up against the car about 7 o'clock at night and just kind of looked at each other, and oh my gosh, what an event this was.
Wow.
Something, and it changed us. It changed her and I. Not that we're not close, but boy, we got into each other's head that night, just looking at each other.
That was
amazing.
such a powerful,
Oh my God, yeah.
emotionally draining experience, and you start to realize how thankful and how easy the script could
The
be
table might
completely
turn,
flipped,
right?
and you could be on that other side of
They
that
g-
line as you
they
move
got-
up to the line.
right,
and
they
you
got
start to
caught.
learn.
Yep.
And we didn't.
Yeah.
I
You know,
think
for
the fight
something or
changes
another.
the absolute entire game in this country.
Yeah.
It's
I
such an
always say that.
opportunity we have,
Yeah.
and that's one of my big drums.
We're going to try from the business roundtable side anything we can do and make some connections back in D.C. And I know
Yeah.
Jared Kushner and others in the White House are very passionate about this, and we're made a few connections. We hope to be able to leverage that, and we'll continue to support that. And we'll bring a little bit of the Project Defy story to our listeners and readers
Yeah,
within
Charles
the
would be great
newsletter
on
and
our
share
cat.
some of that and talk a little bit about that. I just had lunch and coffee with Bob, the new executive director of Project Defy here in Colorado. So
Awesome.
we're going to continue to push that. Todd, I want to kind of shift to you for the last couple minutes here of this segment and really give our listeners an opportunity to really kind of engage the last thing. Where do they get involved? How do they find out more about this? Where do they go take this assessment? How, if they're listening and they're saying, I'd like to bring that to my school.
Awesome.
How do we bring that here? What can I do to get involved?
I'm not going to push people off to the internet, but we have a brand new site launching at 3 a.m. on the 15th. www.gallup/builder.com. It'll be real easy to find. All the Gallup things are pretty easy to find. bp10.com. We're going to really fill the website with activities and videos. You'll see Theisen on a video, of course,
Nice.
talking about a building. A couple 9 other videos if we don't have to edit it all up, Willie.
Yeah, we have faces for radio. He actually could put on a video and probably be okay.
You'll love it. So a lot of going up into the website. The book is, we've got foundations across Nebraska buying literally thousands of copies, distributing through 4-H, distributing through
Wow,
the
great.
chambers, having people show up in schools and say, if you want to learn about your builder future, Saturday at 10 a.m. at the mayor's office or the chamber, a business. We think it's creating conversations between the next generation and the current generation. Again, the book is a real catalyst to do a lot of that. So website, the publication, and there are Tuesday webinars where we go
Yes.
deep on each of the 10. They're up on the Gallup Coaches blog today. If you want to just spend 45 minutes talking about disruption with one of the most disruptive guys in the world, it's not actually Willy. That's a good place to go for more resources. Hope that answers the question.
Oh, it is. And we are so appreciative of Gallup Todd, with you and
we
Joe
love this.
Daly and Brandon. I could go down the line, and certainly your CEO, Jim Clifton, so respected. So it's a time-honored company of, again, leading cutting-edge research. And I will, again, reiterate and do the sell for you.
Thank you.
Born to Build. Get a copy. Get engaged with this program. We hope to be able to expand this here in the great state of Colorado, and I think you've got some willing folks here that understand what you're trying to accomplish, and we look forward to being a partner with you in this endeavor. Willie, what an honor.
My
Thanks
pleasure,
for being
my
here.
honor. Thank you for inviting us.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Willy Theisen, founder of Godfather's Pizza and all kinds of ventures, and Todd Johnson from Gallup. We really appreciate you sharing your time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.